and welcome to our beach buggy project. So we got a phone call from a lady who wanted to get her beach buggy running. Unfortunately, she had to sell it and she was going to put it into auction. We went to go and see it and we agreed to buy it off of her. So this is our new project. Myself and Bella are going to get stuck into this. Unfortunately, it doesn't run at the moment. It's got no brakes, so I'll sort those bits now. We'll probably use it for a couple of months just while we get through spring and get to the summer holidays when Bella's got a bit more time, and then we'll get stuck into it. We're going to do a full build on this, lots of ideas, but yeah, I absolutely love it. And I promised the lady that we would take good care of it. It had been in her family for 40 plus years, and her husband had restored the whole thing back in the 80s. Sorry, it might have been the 90s actually. But yeah, long story short, it's based on a 1954 chassis. I think it was built in the early 60s. So yeah, it's pretty original build, GP buggy. But the best bit for me, Porsche 356A engine, 1959. So I think that makes this a pretty special buggy, and we're going to try and keep the Porsche theme running with this one. So yeah, let's get the brakes and engine going. Okay, so when doing a brake inspection, it's really important to peel back these dust covers. More often than not, a cylinder will look absolutely fine from the outside, but once you peel back these dust covers, you can see that the cylinder's been leaking fluid. It's also important to inspect your brake hoses. This side isn't perished or cracked, the ends are a little bit rusty, but we'll probably replace it anyway. If we move on to the other side, you can see that this brake hose is really perished and cracked. This is no good and will need replacing. If we peel back the dust covers on this side, you can see that fluid's leaking really badly from this cylinder, so this definitely needs replacing too. We'll likely replace all 4 cylinders and brake hoses on this. When we took the brake drum off the front right brake, unfortunately the wheel bearing got stuck on the spindle. We had to use the puller to get it off, and we'll replace this bearing as it looks pretty gnarly. Well, that's all 4 wheel cylinders and brake hoses replaced. Time to bleed the brakes. I'm going to fill the reservoir and use the vacuum bleeder to get fluid through to each corner. I'm going to start with the corner furthest away from the master cylinder and work my way back to the shortest distance to the master cylinder. It's really important to keep checking the fluid level in the reservoir to make sure you don't suck out all the fluid, otherwise you've got to start the process again. This is particularly important on single circuit brakes like this. Okay, so that's the brakes bled and adjusted up. Time to fit the hub nuts, torque them to spec and fit split pins. Then the wheels can go back on. Okay, let's do a quick walk around the buggy. As you can see, it's got banded front steel wheels. It's had the beam replaced at some point, but it's got these funky beam supports here. They just strengthen it for when it's being used off-road. We're running drum brakes on the front. These would have obviously been fitted with drum brakes from factory in 1954. The top of the beam's been chopped around a bit at some point to change the angle for the shock absorber. But other than that, it looks pretty solid. It's got an adjuster up top. I assume this was to raise the front suspension. Okay, as we move to the back, you can see it's got a split screen gearbox running its factory reduction boxes. It's had the spring plates chopped up and sort of homemade and cobbled together. They look pretty gnarly, but they're definitely strong enough. This buggy was used for off-road trialling through the years. So yeah, clearly pretty functional. And then the best bit is this Porsche 356 engine. Let's get it running. So we found straight away there was no spark and no ignition, and it turned out to be a faulty relay. I swapped this over and I replaced the fuel filter, and we were getting some fuel from the fuel pump. After running for a short while, it was evident that the mechanical fuel pump wasn't pumping enough fuel, so we replaced it with a PosiFlow electronic fuel pump. When we rebuild the buggy, we'll rebuild the mechanical fuel pump and run it as original. Here I'm running a twin core cable through the bulkhead so we can run power and earth down to the fuel pump. I'm going to cross over the frame head and run the fuel pump on the left hand side of the car, as that's the side that the fuel line runs. Okay, it runs and it stops. Let's go for a drive. Okay, the final thing I'm doing is fitting these original GP buggy wheel arch extensions. I didn't realise they were original GP items, but a friend sent me an original GP advert with these in. They came with the buggy and the front ones were fitted, so it only seems right to fit the rear ones. A big thanks to our friend Kev for the music in this video. I hope you guys liked the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and check back soon for a full strip down and build on this buggy. See you in the next one.
What we done last time.
Try. Oh, I got soaked.
Can we go back? We're gonna go back now.